Hello there, this is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouknow.com. I want to welcome everybody to this morning mindset where we're reading Think and Grow Rich, reading just a few pages and then discussing what we've read. Today we're reading pages 101 to 105. Let's get started, shall we? The top of 101. That is more money than the majority of preachers ever see in an entire lifetime. Yet the thought impulse back of the money was created in the young preacher's mind in a fraction of a minute. The necessary $1 million came as a result of an idea. Back of the idea was a desire, which young Gonzalez had been nursing in his mind for almost 2 years. Observe this important fact. He got the money within 36 hours after he reached a definite decision in his own mind to get it and decided upon a definite plan for getting it. There was nothing new or unique about young Gonzalez's vague thinking about $1 million and weakly hoping for it. Others before him and many since his time have had similar thoughts, but there was something very unique and different about the decision he reached on that memorable Saturday when he put vagueness into the background and definitely said, "I will get that money within a week." God seems to throw himself on the side of the man who knows exactly what he wants, if he is determined to get just that. Moreover, the principle through which Dr. Gonzalez got his $1 million is still alive. It is available to you. This universal law is as workable today as it was when the young preacher made use of it so successfully. This book describes, step by step, the 13 elements of this great law and suggests how they may be put to use. Observe that Asa Candler and Dr. Frank Gonzalez had one characteristic in mind and in common. Both knew the astounding truth that ideas can be transmuted into cash through the power of definite purpose, plus definite plans. If you are one of those who believe that hard work and honesty alone will bring riches, perish the thought. It is not true. Riches, when they come in huge quantities, are never the result of hard work. Riches come, if they come at all, in response to definite demands based upon the application of definite principles and not by chance or luck. Generally speaking, an idea is an impulse of thought that impels action by an appeal to the imagination. All master salesmen know that ideas can be sold where merchandise cannot. Ordinary salesmen do not know this. That is why they are ordinary. A publisher of books which sell for a nickel, made a discovery that should be worth much to publishers generally. He learned that many people buy titles, not contents, of books. By merely changing the name of one book that was not moving, his sales on that book jumped upward more than 1 million copies. The inside of the book has not changed in any way. He merely ripped off the cover bearing the title that did not sell and put on a new cover with a title that had box office value. That, as simple as it may seem, was an idea. It was imagination. There is no standard price on ideas. The creator of ideas makes his own price, and if he's smart, gets it. The moving picture industry created a whole flock of millionaires. Most of them were men who couldn't create ideas, but they had the imagination to recognize ideas when they saw them. The next flock of millionaires will grow out of the radio business, which is new and not overburdened with men of keen imagination. The money will be made by those who discover or create new and more meritorious radio programs and have the imagination to recognize merit and to give the radio listeners a chance to profit by it. The sponsor, that unfortunate victim who now pays the cost of all radio entertainment, soon will become idea conscious and demand something for his money. The man who beats the sponsor to the draw and supplies programs that render useful service is the man who will become rich in this new industry. Crooners and light chatter artists who now pollute the air with wisecracks and silly giggles will go to the way of all light timbers, and their places will be taken by real artists who interpret carefully planned programs which have been designed to service the minds of men as well as provide entertainment. Here is a wide open field of opportunity screaming its protest at the way it is being butchered because of lack of imagination and begging for rescue at any price. Above all, the thing that radio needs is new ideas. If this new field of opportunity intrigues you, perhaps you might profit by the suggestion that the successful radio programs of the future will give more attention to creator-buyer audience and less attention to listener audience. Stated more plainly, the builder of radio programs who succeeds in the future must find practical ways to convert listeners into buyers. Moreover, the successful producer of radio programs in the future must key his features so that he can definitely show its effect upon the audience. Sponsors are becoming a bit weary of buying glib selling talks based upon statements grabbed out of thin air. They want, and in the future will demand, indisputable proof that the Who's It program not only gives millions of people the silliest giggle ever, but that the silly giggler can sell merchandise. Another thing that might as well be understood by those who contemplate entering this new field of opportunity, radio advertising is going to be handled by an entirely new group of advertising experts, separate and distinct from the old-time newspaper and magazine advertising agency men. The old-timers in the advertising game cannot read the modern radio scripts because they have been schooled to see ideas. The new radio technique demands men who can interpret ideas from a written manuscript in terms of sound. It cost the author a year of hard labor and many thousands of dollars to learn this. Radio right now is about where the moving pictures were when Mary Pickford and her curls first appeared on the screen. There's plenty of room in radio for those who can produce or recognize ideas. If the foregoing comment on the opportunities of radio has not started your idea factory to work, you had better forget it. Your opportunity is in some other field. If the comment intrigued you in the slightest degree, then go further into it and you may find the one idea you need to round out your career. Never let it discourage you if you have no experience in radio. Andrew Carnegie knew very little about making steel. I have Carnegie's own word for this, but he made practical use of two of the principles described in this book and made the steel business yield him a fortune. The story of practically every great fortune starts the day when a creator of ideas and a seller of ideas got together working in harmony. Carnegie surrounded himself with men who could do all that he could not do, men who created ideas and men who put ideas into operation and made himself and the others fabulously rich. Millions of people go through life hoping for favorable breaks. Perhaps a favorable break can get one on an opportunity, but the safest plan is not to depend upon luck. It was a favorable break that gave me the biggest opportunity of my life, but 25 years of determined effort had to be devoted to that opportunity before it became an asset. The break consisted of my good fortune in meeting and gaining the cooperation of Andrew Carnegie. On that occasion, Carnegie planted in my mind the idea of organizing the principles of achievement into a philosophy of success. Thousands of people have profited by the discoveries made in the 25 years of research, and several fortunes have been accumulated through the application of the philosophy. The beginning was simple. It was an idea which anyone might have developed. The favorable break came through Carnegie. But what about the determination, definiteness of purpose, and the desire to attain the goal and the persistent effort of 25 years? It was no ordinary desire that survived disappointment, discouragement, temporary defeat, criticism, and the constant reminding of waste of time. It was a burning desire, an obsession. When the idea was first planted in my mind by Mr. Carnegie, it was coaxed, nursed, and enticed to remain alive. Gradually, the idea became a giant under its own power, and it coaxed, nursed, and drove me. Ideas are like that. First, you give life and action and guidance to ideas, then they take on power of their own and sweep aside all opposition. Ideas are intangible forces, but they have more power than the physical brains that give birth to them. They have the power to live on after the brain that creates them has returned to dust. For example, take the power of Christianity. That began with a simple idea born in the brain of Christ. Its chief tenet was, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Christ has gone back to the source from whence he came, but his idea goes marching on. Someday, it may grow up and come into its own. Then it will have fulfilled Christ's deepest desire. The idea has been developing only 2,000 years. Give it time. Success requires no explanations. Failure permits no alibis. Okay, I'm done. Wow. I want to say good morning to everybody that joined me during the reading. I see Preston has made it here. That's terrific. Stephen, Devon, Madi, Neil, good to see you. Pete, Hitesh, Rob, Rachel, Tom, Linda, so good to see you all. Renee, Daryl, Sabrina. We're on 101 to 105. That's what we've been reading. So, tell you what I got out of this. So I had an idea, and I started putting it out there. And it's in line with my definiteness of purpose, the ultimate goal of where I write down exactly how much money I'm going to have in hand, and I've got the date. I read that this morning to myself, and I read it aloud as I was been told to do, and I've been doing ever since I wrote it clearly. And the idea came to me last year, not quite a year ago, to make a change in the approach of my business. It actually came to me sooner than that, but it wasn't fleshed out, and I wasn't sure how it was going to happen. It actually happened in about June of 2014. I had a name for it, hence the website, growbecauseyouKnow.com. I knew what was behind it, what the belief and values were that were going to support it, which is my love of knowledge and my love of critical thinking, and that the more you know, the better you can grow, the better you can do. And that was pretty much what I started with. And I didn't have it fleshed out completely and planned as to where exactly it was go, but I was open to the ideas. And then came a platform for me to put the site on, and it made sense. And then came products that I could sell outside of my own products, that I could sell that support that idea. That and then from that has been born relationships and other ways that I can put that idea to use. And it's all less than a year. So when it's not done. I know this, it's not done. It's going to take more work. And what's interesting is that when I first started reading this book aloud, I think it was like 12 days ago, I was looking at the stats of when I first started the morning mindset. I was concerned about becoming a burning obsession because my nature is to get so focused on one thing that everything else goes to the wayside. Literally. There is no relationship. There is no talking to people. There is no fun. There is no life beyond that which I'm working towards. Okay. And so that was something I struggled with because I really, really, really didn't want to be the single focused, run over anybody that's in front of me and get things done kind of person. So I balked. And as I've been reading this, I'm getting a better understanding of what that means, that burning desire and that obsession. And it's starting to happen. I'm beginning to feel the changes of moving from being fearful of it being a burning desire to the idea has grown and has fleshed out. My imagination has caught fire, and I jumped onto Blab because I saw how it can pertain to and align with the business and what I do. Started the Mastermind Groups based on Think and Grow Rich, the principles and the idea of what a Mastermind Group is about. And that's right in line with everything I'd been doing to this point, working with individuals and what have you. And I'm feeling now that that desire is stronger. And what I read helped. As I was reading it, I realized it may take 25 years for me to flesh it out completely, but it doesn't have to take 25 years for me to reach the financial dollars that I have put out in front of me that says this is what I'm going to have. It's already there, and it is my job to put this plan and these platforms and what have you that are in line with what I have Grow Because You Know to be, put those to use because I will get it. And I'm focused. So I'm so far I'm feeling pretty good. Open seat. Anybody wants to jump in and discuss what was read? Pages 101 to 105. Feel free. Welcome to the new people. Andrea, good to see you again. Laura, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Carl. Neil, good to have you with us. Good morning. You know, the other thing that I like is we can easily replace Napoleon Hill's talking about radio in his time when he wrote this book, replace it with platforms like this that allow for communication, live stream communication, which is similar to radio. But that's part of what I was thinking. We could look at it as the internet, because we know that the internet has been loaded up with silliness, useless stuff, useless entertainment. Madi, we're reading and discussing however many pages it takes to complete the idea that I found at the next section. So sometimes it's 3 pages, sometimes it's 5. One time I went a little longer and we all decided that was a little long. But yes, it is daily, weekdays at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. So those who haven't read anything up to this point may be a little lost on why we are at this section and what's happening. But I got to tell you, what I really like is that it feels solid inside of me to see that the preacher who wanted $1 million by the end of that week to put to a particular use was given the plan. Right? He got quiet and he was inspired through his imagination that he made it a part of his sermon. Somebody happened to be in the audience listening to the sermon that would be able to give him the $1 million that he wanted. I find that inspiring. Oh, have a great day, Neil. Glad you could stop by. Always recorded. You can watch the replays and on the YouTube channel for Grow Because You Know. So let's go back to how can we make use of the internet to make millions? Hi, Tony. Glad you could join us. Now, put it in the context of what Napoleon Hill is saying. Are we giving value? You know, those who make millions, it almost looks like they threw something up and, you know, 2 clicks of a button, suddenly they're millionaires, and it's low-level stuff that they're selling. But I don't know that honestly, I don't know that that's true. Would they sell that much if it wasn't of value to the purchaser? So it's a medium, just like radio is a medium. So you have an idea and you're looking for a break. And that's the other thing Napoleon Hill puts out there. The break is, if possible, you know, maybe it's that you got an opportunity, but don't depend on that. You know, the break is that you got the idea. Hello, Tracy. Good to have you with us. Good morning, Sabrina.
Good morning. Good morning. I got moving a little late and I kind of got in the middle of the reading, so I had to step back and go reread.
Good.
And focus a little. That's what happens when you don't get up early.
I still got up early. I just didn't sleep well.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Couple of interesting points that I noted is that they talked about radio focusing on buyer audiences and not listener audiences. That's interesting. I just found that interesting. So I think that there's a definite decision being made there about what you're doing. Are you just, are you on air, for example, on radio to sell or just to spread some word? And you need to decide that and think about that. So I found that was interesting.
I have to agree, because if the point is to get rich, if the point is to reach a definite goal in terms of money in hand, how you approach the implementation of the plan for your idea is going to determine whether or not it's going to work. And I like the buyer audience. That can be applied to today, right?
Yes, I think that absolutely can apply to today.
Can we give value and get money? Of course we can. Of course we can. And the value part is coming up when we're, hi, Tracy. And I just want to say hi to Tracy and Alicia. Glad to have you with us. What's coming to mind is that I love the way you said it. He said it, those poor radio sponsors.
Oh, that's so funny, because I wrote that down actually and then crossed it off because I thought it was kind of a negative connotation. But it was about sponsors being unfortunate victims.
Yeah. What a way to put it. What a way to put it.
And think about that.
We see that today in all types of media, where people are drawn in without the critical thinking or the decision-making skills that they really need. Hi, Sean. Hi, Patricia. So glad you could join us. And yet, I leave it to whomever is purchasing ad time with me or, media time with me as to whether or not it's a good decision. I just present the benefit of doing it and move on. Good morning, Stephen. But it was interesting when he put it but I think the reason he put it as unfortunate victims is that at the time there was so much silliness on television and radio, or just radio, not even television, because television wasn't around yet. But the communications were just, silliness. And the idea was, well, I'm going to get in front of a lot of people. But how effective was it? How effective was the advertising? How effective was it for that sponsor to be on that particular show? I think that's the way I'm going to interpret it. Because in Napoleon Hill's mind, even in the reading about where he thought radio was going to go, which is it was going to become the place where intelligent talk happened. And yet we have to bring in the fact we have the general public, and we have, out of that general public, we have segments that prefer other things.
Another part that I thought was very interesting is they were talking about a creator. He was talking about a creator of ideas and a seller of ideas. Yes. And, I found very interesting about that is just last night, I had a meeting with somebody who approached me about selling something that I had never considered selling.
Okay.
And I just found it very, I don't know. It's like those two lines hit home this morning. And I was thinking back that conversation. I thought, wow, here is a seller of ideas. So we'll see.
Yeah. It was just an idea. It wasn't a product.
Well, it's now it could be a physical product after she described how to turn it into a physical product. And I was like, oh, wow, that's a very interesting idea.
But it's still in the idea stage.
Yeah, for another week. We're going to move on past the idea stage real quick like.
But see, there it is right there, what we were talking about that Napoleon Hill's talking about, right? So here's this gal. She has this idea. She comes to you because you can help her make it into something more than just the idea. You say yes, and within a short time frame, you're able to create something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what he's describing, is don't be put off that you don't have the tool right now, that you don't have the ability, the physical skill, that you don't have the money. Seek out somebody else and do the collaboration and test, test to see if it's a good working arrangement.
Well, you won't have to be intrigued very long, because you're going to find out right after this flab. You know I'm going to be talking to you about it.
Yeah, I know you're going to be talking to me about it. But everybody does need to know that I will keep the room open. Everybody knows I shut it down at the top of the hour for the recording purposes and listen to the replay and what have you. And I try to keep the room open for a time afterwards. And I can this morning. I can keep it open 30 minutes afterwards, but I have a 10 o'clock appointment that I must go to. So it may be just a wee bit later than that, but Sabrina and I will connect.
I see some folks in here that got on the hot seat yesterday.
Yeah.
So what's the deal, guys? Step up.
Yeah, Sean, we're going to keep, trust me, we'll keep you waiting.
Oh, yeah. Like Sean won't find out about it.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking, oh, gosh, he's going to find out before me because I got to take off for a little while. One of us will be kept waiting.
Yeah, no, actually, you and I have to get together to kind of help out with this idea.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Well, good to have you, Monty. Good to have you, Raymond. Welcome. Anybody else who's familiar with the reading, either by virtue of my having read it or you read it yourself? Here's the PDF. Glance over the morning mindset of pages 101 to 105. We can always always go to the capitalized words, right? Those with major emphasis. And in the beginning, he refers back to Asa Candler of Coca-Cola and Dr. Frank, the preacher. They both had the same characteristic, and it was they knew the astounding truth that ideas can be transmuted into cash through the power of definite purpose plus definite plans. And there's that caveat. Plus definite plans. I'm part of a Facebook group with James Altucher, and he's a big advocate of coming up with 10 ideas a day. And I thought that was going to be something good for me. Good morning, Joe. Glad to have you here.
Coming up with 10 ideas a day, is that what you said?
Yeah, that was a way to exercise his mind. And he offers it out. And a lot of people come on to that, and they come, and they're an idea machine, and they sit and they come up with 10 ideas regardless. The idea is that you write out whatever hits you. What's the idea you have today? What's the idea you have today? And ultimately, the goal is to be able to look at any one of those over a period of time, pick one, and have that become your next project, your next goal, your next business, or what have you. So I tried that. And I learned, once again, how Charlene works.
I was going to say, did it actually turn into the next shiny coin or the next shiny object?
Well, yeah, It was like, what the hell? No, I can't do that. It totally deviates from the path I'm on with my company. So maybe I can come up with 10 ideas for just the company. So I thought I'd, rein it in a little bit. And once again, I found out how Charlene works. And that is, I became very annoyed that I'm just sitting here with ideas and there's no action.
Right.
And that I just simply am not able right now to go into a regular mode of ideas, just ideas, bounce them off, just ideas on a regular basis. I can do this occasionally. Sabrina and I have done this. Hey, let's throw this out. Is that going to stick? Is that going to work? No, it's not. And that's because whatever. And I've done it with other people. So I don't have a problem doing it. What I'm talking about is to his way. This is his way, and lots of those in the group. They sit down every morning and literally at least 10 ideas. And I tried it. I tried to rein it in, and I got more and more frustrated because I much prefer the action. If I'm going to do something, I'm doing it now. And for me to sit and come up with all these other ideas is not creative to me. it removes me from the path that I need to be on in order to get this company where I want it to be.
I think that very much reminds me of part of the conversation in our virtual networking group when Elliot was talking about calling people, and he called that guy, and the guy said, well, hi, Elliot, used car salesman, electricity hawker, insurance policy salesman.
Known for doing all these things and not known for doing something well.
What is it you're calling me for today? For me, that kind of track, that's what it would create.
Yeah.
As I dive into selling that, whatever it was, that shiny coin. And then as soon as I couldn't make that work, or I thought I couldn't make that work, then I move on to the next shiny coin. And for me, that would be a bad scenario. So.
And that's something I have really, really struggled to make sure that I don't do. That was one of the reasons why the shift in my business was difficult at first. I know it's the right direction. I know that's where I ultimately want it to be. But I had built, at that time, 6.5 years, almost 7 years of the business that I had. So I don't want to suddenly make a big change. And I also don't want to. And I didn't. It's a meld, and people are understanding that there really isn't that much difference. I'm actually just reframing it.
There's Damon. Hey, Damon.
Hey, Damon. Good to see you.
I finally made it in.
Yay! Yay! You were so persistent yesterday, and it finally worked.
I had a hard time yesterday.
My goodness, you did. I'm so glad you made it back, though. So what's up?
Well, Charlene, you were talking about just this idea of creating these ideas, coming up with these ideas after ideas after ideas. And I kind of relate with you on that level because I just sit here and I just come up with ideas like out of the yin yang. And then it's like, okay, who has time to do all these? I don't have time to put any of them to a use or start to develop any plans behind it. And it distracts me from my focus.
Thank you.
And
that's what happens to me.
And I found that one thing that I've learned I've had to do is, really key in on what my purpose is, what my goal is, and write it down. And because I have this flood of thoughts and ideas all the time, always to revisit what I've written down and focus on that, and meditate on it in a lot of ways. So,
that's a good way to put it.
Man,
well, I think it's also important to note that you're not supposed to take action on every idea. So you need to let a lot of those float away,
Which is, of course,
put them in that little bubble and let them go.
Which, I got to tell you, what goes through my mind, then what was the point? That's how I work. That's how I think it becomes, that's where my frustration comes into play is, then what was the point of my even writing out that new idea? Now, some will say, and they do in the group, some will say that it is an exercise of the brain and keeps it active, and mine does not exercise well that way. Right. So that's, again, something I learned about myself, and I'm so glad there's 2 other people like me. Thank you. Because I'm in a group full of thousands of people who are all over it, and they're sharing how it's given them inspiration and motivation, and I'm like, no. I'm so glad you're here, Damon and Sabrina. Thank you.
No doubt. Hey, another thing that that kind of resonated with me in this reading today was what was the passage? He was talking about no ordinary desire, and he named a couple things like no ordinary desire will get me through the kind of discouragement or criticism or disappointment. But then in quotations, he had this awareness of this waste of time, and I find myself dealing with that now too. Like anything I do, if it doesn't pertain to, what it is I'm trying to accomplish, it's just a waste of time, and it's more pronounced.
Man, I needed to hear
the further I go, and oftentimes I hear people say things like, time is money. And I'm like, no. The waste of time is the waste of money, but time is infinitely more valuable than money. You can lose money and make it back, but once you lose time, it's gone.
Yes, it is gone. I
really appreciate time, and the further I go, the more I notice any second that that I'm not focused.
Do you have an idea, Damon? Not that I'm going to ask, but do you have an idea that you're focused on right now?
Yes.
And you're taking the steps
Yes.
to coax that idea, nurse that idea, and entice it to stay alive.
To the best of my current capabilities. Yes.
I
Now
love that.
I still have one foot in the corporate world and one foot like toward my dream. And one of my biggest frustrations is with my job, you know, because we signed a contract and we have a responsibility to fulfill, and we have to carry out certain tasks, and those tasks take my mind off track. And sometimes I'm not always letting my mind be enveloped in things that I really care about passionately. And that's frustrating for me. So I have to spend some time refocusing my mind and getting out of that state, because I don't like to be frustrated. It's not conducive to progress.
It's not conducive to good mental health either, by the way.
No.
Just saying.
Nor to the home relationships, right? I love that, Damon. I love that. I had not caught the waste of time in the way that you just described it.
Yeah.
I caught it. What I caught was hearing the other people tell me that what I was doing was a waste of time. I caught it as that negative committee, the one that I've already fired and retired. Because I had them in my head. I fired them, and I have appointed very special people to sit in those chairs. So I don't hear that anymore. But that's the way I took it. I did not see it the way you did, Damon. Thank you. I like that. Very nice. I can take that away. I hope others can too. Hello, Tom. Good to see you.
Hello. How are everyone?
Hey,
Doing
Tom.
well.
Yeah, cool. I was just listening about you talking about time and time management. And I just want to shoot in that my mentor taught me something very, very good. And that was actually, you have to find out how much do you want to earn to do what you want to do in your life. And you just have to divide it into two hours. And then you're getting your amount that you're worth in 1 hour. And when you do something that's not helping your dream, you're just wasting that amount of money each hour.
So you literally translate it to time is money.
Yeah. So, for example, if I watch TV one day and that doesn't help me create it. Oh, sorry. if that doesn't build my empire, I will tell my brain that I have just lost $600 in 1 hour.
Interesting.
Because
I look at, isn't that interesting? And I don't know, I'm taking all this in, and I'm always learning. The way I've been doing it is that I use television. We have a DVR, so I DVR specific programming. And what's funny is when my husband comes in and watches me, and I'm thoroughly enthralled by the science program or the intellectual discussions, book discussions, and things like that. And those exercise my brain. That is a way for me. Those kind of shows is a way for me to think a little differently, because I'm not just absorbing what they're saying. I'm actually thinking about it, and then I go research it and I look it up and what have you. So that's like my hobby, is to go find things. But I also, all right, so here's the true confession time, right? Oh God, I'm recording too. So I also DVR this really off the wall, holy mackerel, soap operas never were this awesome. The kind of program where it's like, if people really behave this badly, we would be in a world of hurt. This is, and yet it's funny to me. It's entertainment. It is. And what's interesting is that I don't go off into a no man's land like some people do when they say it's entertainment. It's a way to completely free the mind. Instead, I'm looking at how the writers are doing things. So the analysis mode goes into play. So and that's, to me, is not a waste, because it is putting to use or gives me an outlet for the way I like to work, which is let me take it apart and figure out how it's working, why it's working. The wordsmith in me loves the way that the dialogue goes in this soap opera. And the technician engineer in me loves the way that they're processing things on the science shows and the anyway. So that's why I don't consider television a waste of time. For me, that's how I use it.
It sounds like you watch it actively. It's not
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, I don't just sit. Now, I'll tell you, though, I do understand the concept, because there was a time when so much was happening, and actually it was so little. The stress was so much that it was a brain fade.
right.
And I hated that about what I became, and it didn't take long, that my brain has to be active. I have to be doing something with my thoughts and with the way I view the world. I can't just sit and let everything happen in front of me without, as my husband says, you've got an opinion on everything. Yes, I do. It's because I pay attention. So you can disagree with it, that, and just so everybody knows, if I come off strong, Sabrina knows this, if I come off strong with an opinion, it just means that I raise my voice a little bit. If you disagree, it's not that big a deal. Let's go. Let's talk about it. Let's ruminate on it,
Right on.
So anyway, that's why I like what Damon said about not relating it specifically to a dollar amount, but instead is what I'm doing helping me to move forward with getting my idea completed, to reaching the goal, to doing what it is that I want to do, is it benefiting the business that I've got? In my case, is it getting me to my major definite purpose? I've got it written out. The dollar amounts are there. The plan is coming into place. Things are falling into place much easier now that I'm more definite about it. I got inspired yesterday as to how I'm going to pull all of this together to what seemingly different companies or businesses, and they're really not, but how I'm going to pull it all together. And so I'm on my way. That's why I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. Things are falling into place, and I'm on my way. Frustration for me comes in, Damon, I can't imagine working full-time for somebody else and trying to do something completely different. I was fortunate. I was fired, and I was given no choice. And had it been left to my own devices, I would have just dabbled in trying to get something done. I would not have, because of the distraction of having to focus on the work for somebody else. That's how so I admire that you're able to do that.
Yeah,
I do admire.
I love that you describe being fired as a blessing. You was fortunate to be fired. I think so many people are like really depressed, and they feel like life is over when they get fired. But I'm like, it's an opportunity.
Oh, I didn't feel that way when it happened.
I think Damon was fired.
All right, so let me describe. I was relieved when it happened.
I hear that,
and I was a little ticked off because it didn't happen in my time frame.
No doubt.
I was hoping that it would go another 6 months so that I could save another 6 months of funds for the business that I wanted to start. Because that's what I mean. It was April of 2007 that I definitely decided exactly what I was going to do as a business. And then I had it planned out. I needed a year to work with this company so that I could save 1 year's worth of living expenses for both of us in the house and 1 year's worth of operating expenses for the business. So I was fired in October, which really ticked me off because it wasn't the right time. You guys didn't do it by my timeline, But, it was a blessing because it did force me to go ahead and do it. And it was a blessing because for me, working in those environments that I was in was toxic and had made me very, very ill physically. And now I know that I was mentally twisted. It went beyond the, circle and a square, square peg in a round hole. It went beyond that. It was bad.
Were you grateful immediately when you got fired or later?
Immediately? No, like I said, immediately I was pissed.
Okay.
So here, now I want you to imagine this. I'm in my executive office and I get the phone call, which is really quick. Charlene, need to see you in the office right now. VP. I know what it's about. So I just knew. I said, okay, darn, it's going to happen now. All right. So I bring my file, I bring my pager, I bring everything they're going to want to ask in return for letting me go. I knew it was happening. It was intuitive. It was obvious to me. It was just, and then I sat there and he's going through everything. And now I do admit it was a pleasant surprise when he offered the severance package.
You said, yay, okay, thanks.
I said, not a problem, you know, and then he had me sign off and I said, not a problem, and I handed everything over and shook hands and went back to the office, finished up packing the box that had been sitting there anyway. And, I walked out and I hit the car and I said, why now? Why couldn't you have waited until April? Yeah. So gratitude didn't come into play for a while. My immediate was, you didn't do it on my timeline.
But infinite intelligence knew better, right?
Obviously.
Did you have an idea ready to go that you just said, okay, now's the time. Let's do this.
Yeah, I did. And it was, I had done research and I was going to buy into a business opportunity and I needed funds for that, which was another reason that extra 6 months would have come in handy. Because what it did was, I couldn't. I didn't have enough. And so a family member stepped up and loaned me the money to buy the business opportunity. And thankfully, so that we had the funds, because the business started in June of 2008. And the primary customer base was in home health care services and the financial district. So September of 2008 means I had no customers.
So I just
they were gone. So, and that was the beginning of then the struggles. Because you see, then I had the money that was set aside and I got the okay from the loan that says, you don't pay me anything, just get by. So we had the funds that I had saved that kept us moving along and growing and, all that stuff that happens when you have to shift in your business. But I'm just telling you, I got fired and I was pissed, but it wasn't because I lost my job. It just wasn't on my timeline.
Yeah. So
I'm going to clear my seat so someone else can come in.
Okay, Damon.
Oh, no, Damon, you hang out. I'll clear my seat. I got things to do.
Okay, whoever. I love having you here. I do.
But I do want to remind everybody before I go, just, put that little plug out there about where you can find Charlene Burke or where you can find myself for virtual networking. There's the website. Business networking online rather than in person. Come see us. Come check it out. We'd love to have you. Bye.
Bye, Sabrina.
Bye.
Go ahead.
So I just want to shoot in was when you got fired, you actually get your why stronger also, because you find your I call it POP, place of passion, because you had the mindset that you want to start something for yourself when you had a job. But when you lost your job, you got more passion.
Well, suddenly I had to do something about it.
Yeah,
because that's what I was going to go back to Damon about. That's why I admire him. I knew what I wanted to do, but I wasn't touching it.
Yeah,
I had the choice. I could have started it, in the evenings on the side. It wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, and I also work.
So great respect to you, Damon. Big high fives. Lots of props.
So I actually also work more than 100% on my day job, as I'm an educated chef. I'm a head chef, and it takes a lot of energy. But when I come home, I build my empire online. But I also feel that my day job is taking a lot of distraction and energy on building my own empire.
Yes. Oh, yes. And I admire you for even being able to do it. That complete separation of being able to turn off the one job to be able to turn on to the other is what I admire. I could have done it, I believe, if I were really in a position of that much passion, but I wasn't. I just knew that I had the plan in place that I was going to stay at this job for April to April. Actually, I was there from October to October. It was April I decided I'm going to have this. And then, by the following April, I will put in my resignation because I will have this much money and I will be able to move forward because there was enough money there for me to get into the learning.
Right.
It wasn't the learning ahead of time. It wasn't the setup ahead of time. It wasn't the starting to build ahead of time. I could start the learning and the building right away all at once, and I wouldn't be distracted by the job. That was the plan. Somebody else had a different plan, and I went with it. And then a completely different plan came into place, because here's the interesting thing, Tom. When I started my business in June of 2008, it was different than what it turned into, because in response to the recession, I pivoted according to what the customers needed, of which there were like only a handful of customers because most of them went to the wayside. And did what the customers needed me to do, grew the business with that, but that wasn't my passion. That wasn't my passion. And so finally, a year or so ago is when I came up with, this is really what I want to do. This is what I really want it to look like. It includes what the business was originally, but I have to make that shift in my customers' eyes, So that's what I've been wondering, how am I going to do that? And those things are falling into place.
Yeah.
Because people are watching me and my customers are watching me and they're saying, well, no, it makes sense what you're doing. That's how I saw you all the time. But it's because I've opened the door for them to see. They're seeing this blab. They're seeing other blabs. They're seeing other live streams. They're seeing other workshops and other offerings. They're saying, well, that makes sense coming from you. So it's starting to come together. But I think it's because of a part of it is because of what I've learned in studying this book, is that I have my major definite purpose that I read every morning and every night, and I read it aloud because he tells me I'm supposed to. I have faith in my idea. I have the fleshing out of what it looks like, not just the idea, but what it looks like in terms of cash and in exchange for that which I'm offering, because that's really big with Hill. You don't just get cash because you think you should get it. You got to work for it. I am determined to get it, and I'm more determined as I spend time with people and as I do it. It's firing the passion, and I'm like this far, that 3 feet from gold thing, for it to be a completed piece, if you will, completed idea. Joe, welcome.
Thank you. How y'all doing?
Doing good. Doing good.
I'm awesome.
So I just need to bail out. So
okay, Tom, thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah.
Likewise. I hope you can make it tomorrow morning. It's Friday, so hopefully you can make it Monday morning.
Yeah.
And Monday through Fridays.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And I am going to shut down the recording, and then we can finish and talk and what have you for another 30, 40 minutes.
Okay.
How's that? Okay.
Yep.
So I want to thank everybody for joining me on live stream and in the comment area as we've talked about Think and Grow Rich, pages 101 to 105. This is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. The website is www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Let's move forward with the day on purpose, with purpose, to grow our hearts, grow our minds, grow our businesses. So until next time.